So can I get real with you for a second? For many of us in the LGBTQ community, happiness seems oddly evasive. Despite the strides we've made for inclusion and equality and same-sex marriage, so many of us are still finding ourselves trapped in this perpetual spiraling loop of dissatisfaction. I'm not enough. I'm not happy, I'm not worthy, there's something wrong with me, I need to fill that aching void inside with partners or drugs or dicks or whatever it is your choice of hole filling. And for me, even somebody who consciously works daily to try and find peace and zen and inner bliss, I still find myself seeking validation, seeking my worth outside of myself, trying to find a feeling of lasting happiness. And if this resonates with you, if you find yourself a queer individual who is struggling to find a lasting sense of worth, a lasting sense of happiness, please know you're not alone. And today we're going to see if we can better understand why this is happening and maybe some things we can do about it. So if we haven't met before, hey, I'm Kay. I am a life coach focusing on mindfulness and ecstatic living and spirituality. And I grew up for much of my life really struggling with feelings of being seen, being worthy, being enough. I was just talking with somebody today how when I was younger, to be seen was something that was scary. To be seen, to be visible, to put myself at the center of attention often meant that I was going to be picked on, scorned, made fun of. And I quickly learned that being me was not something safe to be. Even before I understood my sexuality, even before I understood my gender atypicality, I knew that there was something different, and that different was wrong, that different was scary. Now, I hope for you that you grew up in a really inclusive environment, a place that celebrated you for your differences and said whoever you want to be is welcomed. I wish that for all people, to feel that sense of inclusion. But most of us didn't, and even of those lucky ones of us who did, before we could understand why or what, we understood that we were a little bit different from everybody else. We were a little strange, off kilter, odd. That feeling of being different causes quite a bit of psychological distress from a very young age. You see, we as humans, we're hardwired for inclusion. We're hardwired for tribes and groups and to belong to something. Because for millions of years, evolutionarily speaking, we needed our pod, our tribe to survive. And the most dangerous, the most horrible thing that could happen to you was being excommunicated from your group, because you'd be left out in the wilderness on a glacier, starve to death, be attacked by wild animals, and die within a short amount of time. So it's hardwired in our DNA. Different is dangerous. Different is going to get me killed. So before we even understood what was going on with that, we know we were different. And what's particularly hard about being a minority in the LGBTQ community, which is unlike ethnic minorities, is that there's no guarantee that there's going to be anybody in our immediate circle is going to be like we are. We aren't guaranteed that our parents are going to be queer. We are not guaranteed that our siblings are going to be queer. Unlike certain other minority groups, right? At least they see themselves being reflected in the people around them. So from a very early age, we feel alone, we feel isolated, and we find that we have to prove our worth. We have to prove that we should belong to this group, even though there's something, don't know what, but something just a little bit off. And so we start having to hustle for our validation. We have to prove that we are worthy of being included. So many of us become straight A students, or captains of the football team, or the most popular funny kid in school, because if we achieve this high status, at least we'll be lovable. At least they'll want to keep us around. Unfortunately, these accolades often mask that thing down inside that feels disquieted, that thing inside that says, oh, something isn't right, something's not okay, I'm not being authentic to myself, I'm having to hustle. And we teach our young brains that we, as we are, if we stopped the doing, if we stopped the striving, if we stopped all this, that we would be in danger of excommunication. We would be in danger of being thrown out of our tribe. And so we learn to associate belonging, success, and worth with accomplishment. And that's an issue, because you can't work 100-hour work weeks for the rest of your life. You can't always be the youngest, the fittest, the funniest. We age. We experience loss. Like we are not going to always be able to prove our worth. Everyone is entitled to feeling loved, respected, and whole, regardless of their ability level, their intelligence level, their attractiveness, their gender identity, their sexual identity, anything. Every sentient creature is worthy of love, respect, and belonging. But But we didn't hear that message growing up. And so we fought and we fought and we fought, and before we know it, we're adults. Maybe we've come out of the closet, maybe we've shifted our body to better reflect our gender, but we find that we are still having to hustle. That when we stop the project, when we stop the gym, when we stop the whatever, we're left alone with this pit of unworthiness, this pit of despair that says, I am not enough. I am not enough. God, for me, if there was one thing in my life that I keep circling back around to, no matter how much growth I have, it's this feeling of insufficiency. And it's such a hard thing to break, because it doesn't matter how much I do. I could always do more. It doesn't matter how many likes I get or how much validation I get from a post or from a room. I want more. And I know I'm not alone in this. I know this is something that pretty much not only every member of the LGBT community can identify with, but in our modern culture with all this horrible social media, something I think we all identify with. We're not built with coping mechanisms to handle communication on this wide of a scale. Like, we're only capable of managing so many intense relationships or so many strong relationships. We're not meant to stay connected to thousands and thousands of people. That's not how we evolutionarily evolved. So us little queer kids who learn to hustle for our validation, hustle for our worth, suddenly find ourselves in this modern society where we are being evaluated on a larger scale than we ever imagined. We don't only have to impress our immediate friends and family, we have to get that 100,000 followers, we have to get that book deal, we have to get that whatever, because we see those other people online are doing it. We see those people online who are just a little more fit or a little more beautiful or a little bit more whatever, a little more talented, and it triggers that early memory of being insufficient. I mean, I know for myself, I had quit social media for a long while and was very happy with that choice. But when I started Ecstatic Self, my life coaching company, and this YouTube channel, I knew I had to get back on because, well, I needed to connect with individuals. But I too find myself caught in that thing of, oh, I posted this picture and it got lots of likes. Let me post another one and see what that does. And it creates these little dopamine hits, these little rushes of positive feelings, but they only last for like 15 minutes. It doesn't last very long. It isn't that beautiful rush of feeling I get from a genuine connection with a friend, with a loved one, with a human exchange where I'm really seeing and being seen like I was afraid to do when I was a kid. To see myself be seen in a real world environment, that gives me a genuine sense of worth, and this online world doesn't cut it, not nearly as much. And I too find myself falling back into that trap of hustling for my worth, of trying to prove I'm good enough when I just need to accept that I am. So what do we do about it? How can we start to make a change? A, it's a long journey, and B, we need to have patience with ourselves because it's going to take some time. But C, we need to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people who are supportive of this. Are you finding that the people in your life are asking these same questions, that they're seeking genuine connection, genuine feelings of lasting worth, lasting happiness? Or do you find yourself surrounded by individuals who are seeking more instant gratification, more fleeting experiences of well-being through, again, social media, sex, drugs, rock and roll, even things like travel? As much as I love travel, right, is it all about that great Insta pic or having a really great background for your new TikTok? Or is it about having an experience of value? And then additionally after that, after examining your social circle, are you taking time every day to step outside your brain, to step outside your mind and examine your life from a deeper level? Now, I'm a huge advocate for counseling and therapy and traditional healing modalities, but I'm also a big believer that to heal the mind, to heal the spirit, we have to be able to step outside the mind. We have to move into that space that is the watcher of thoughts, that other, the observer, the witness that lives within. Because I know for myself, when I was younger and tried to make changes by thinking differently and building habits and positive thinking, the power of positive thinking, it would last for like a couple days, but then I'd be back where I found myself. It wasn't until I actively learned deprogramming, that I actively learned to build new neural pathways through mindfulness and meditation, taking time in silence, taking time stepping out of my thoughts, stepping out of my emotions, and entering into that experience of otherness, that something slightly beyond, that something started to change. And it's something I have to do every single day. technically twice a day for me, but every single day I have to go in there and I have to sit and I have to absorb and I have to shift, because I cannot live just stuck in my mind, stuck in this world, stuck in these social media experiences. I would be locked up. I would be effing crazy. So are you giving yourself that same permission? Are you? I was reading an article today in The Atlantic about how maybe we just cannot handle social media, and perhaps social media should be limited not just to word counts like on Twitter, but to distance counts, that maybe it's only allowed to reach so far away from your geographical location, or it's only should reach a certain number of friends before it self-destructs, that this idea of trying to seek validation from a global environment is making us crazy. And I think there is something to that. So are you willing to take time away from external validation, seeking what is called extrinsic joy, joy that isn't about real meaningful joy, but just the approval of others, and shift that towards intrinsic joy, joy for the sake of it, joy because it makes you happy, even if no one else understands or approves. And as far as I've come, I know that I've got a hell of a lot further to go. And the things that makes it better for me are those genuine connections, those real friendships, those belly laughs with people who I love and respect and know me, and we've built trust over time. Those are the things that make it better. My husband, a few select others who have proved their real friendship with me. Those are my joys. Those are the things that ground me and make this so much better. What are yours? What are the things you're doing to make it okay? And did this video today offer you any new insights or any ways to figure things out a little more clearly, to see how you are worthy and how you can shift things in your own life to make it feel more sustainable, more joyful overall? Thank you for your time and energy. If you like this, please subscribe, please leave a comment. I love getting to read what people are saying and responding to. And if finding that tribe is meaningful to you, consider joining us on Patreon, where we're taking this work and building it with community. You can also reach out to me for one-on-one coaching so we could explore this together in a more intimate environment. Thank you for being you. It's a pleasure to serve you today. Be well.